Hey everybody, and welcome back to another Paranormal Case File. Here with your host, Vic Whateley.
And Marcus D. And batten down the hatches as we talk about an unusual paranormal creature. As we talk about butterfly people.
On May 22nd, 2011 in Joplin, Missouri, the town was hit by an EF5 tornado, by almost total surprise. This killed 158 members of the town people, but many were spared from this devastation, often in miraculous events, and strange tales started to circulate among the townspeople. Stories primarily recounted by children, but also some adults, and these stories involved miraculous interventions in situations of almost certain death by humanoids with unearthly beauty and butterfly-like wings. These stories involve encounters where cars being thrown by their tornadoes are stopped in midair, where these beings stand over people in debris paths and they come through miraculously unscathed, and walls of buildings are being held up, allowing people to escape from them just to collapse as soon as everyone gets out, and the people who held the walls up just miraculously disappearing. In most of these cases, the only people who could see the butterfly people were, well, the small children that were there. But everyone there witnessed the miracle, seeing something that shouldn't have happened, something that spared them. Although there were occasional accounts of older children as well as adults, but they saw something equally paranormal but notably different. Yeah, this was an incredibly devastating tornado. It didn't go over the town of Joplin, it went through the town of Joplin. And it was an F5, or some people will classify it as an F4. These things get a little subjective as different insurance groups will argue over how much funding they have to give.
Yeah, it almost really doesn't matter by the time you're getting to an F4, F5. I mean, guys, we're here in the Midwest. We're here in Evansville, Indiana. We can tell you, during an F1 tornado, we'll drive. We don't care. We'll wave at the tornadoes that's going through. You know, and as you go up the scale, you kind of go past, you need to seek shelter, up to 4 and 5, where you're just hoping the shelter's still there.
Just so you have a point of reference of how strong these tornadoes can get, they can reach wind speeds of over 200 miles per hour. But we can throw facts about tornadoes at you guys all day. Let's get into the meat of this. Like I alluded to in the Glimpse in the Dark video, the adults and the children, they saw different things. For the most part, children, well, they saw the beautiful butterfly people saving their lives, deflecting cars, and things like that. But adults, well, they mainly saw these shrouded people coming in, just moving through the devastation, or taking away dead bodies, almost like angels of death.
I mean, and this can be explained in that children and adults experience trauma in very different ways. Sometimes whenever we have a really traumatic event, we try to explain it in an unnatural way. Like with children who saw the butterfly people coming to save them are seeing this superhero-esque figure saving them from this tragic fate. Adults are seeing these shrouded people carting people away, and you're explaining it's just not my time.
But this doesn't quite explain why there were such similar encounters.
And not necessarily. There was really only one large trauma center set up right after the events of the tornadoes, so most of the adults and the children were pretty much around each other to kind of decompress and share their stories together.
But what about the stories that were shared immediately after the event, before they could get to the trauma center with EMTs and rescue crews?
If I'm a skeptic, those are probably the original stories that most of the people kind of got their story probably from.
But why would they share such similarities?
That's a good point. Alright, so let's get to our favorite part of the videos. What could these butterfly people be?
My first thought is one of the kind of obvious answers. Fairies. Fae. I mean, they're sometimes called the good folk, they're known for intervening in tragedy, and well, if we're talking about humanoids with butterfly wings, it fits the bill pretty well. Beyond that, well, they have a double-sided nature, the shaly and the unshaly, or seely and unseely, depending how you want to pronounce it, where one side is more benevolent and more likely to help, and the other side, darker and pulled more to the macabre side. Beyond that, there is kind of a trend in Fae folklore where only children can really see them in their true form.
No, I think that we also have to think about, this could be signs of people seeing angels in Joplin, Missouri. I mean, if you think about it, you're talking large, very beautiful people with wings protecting people from tragic fates. That sounds a lot like, a lot of modern angel sightings that people talk about. And adults seeing people, being carted away by shrouded people, well, it's very common in people that are close to death talking about seeing angels coming to get them as they're, about to pass on to the other side. So angels, as we've seen before, have the ability to make themselves appear as they want to appear.
And isn't there a story where a group of them show up to hold up a church wall?
Yeah, like they walk into, there was 4 of them that walked into a church as it was coming down, holding up this church wall. And right after the event, I think either it was insurance people or it was contractors, they were going to repair it. They pretty much assumed that this wall should have come down. But in this story, they came in and held up the wall and probably saved most of the people's lives in this church.
Another possibility that I'd like to address is the idea of the Watchers. Often butterfly people such as the Mothman, maybe not quite a butterfly, but something very similar, is lumped into this category. I know what most of you are thinking. Doesn't the Mothman only kind of give warnings of dangers to come and then doesn't personally intervene? Well, there is a case of the Thornburg Shrieker, where the Mothman directly intervenes, preventing the death of several miners. Which, although maybe not the exact same sort of situation, fairly similar.
Really wanted to open that can of worms of bringing up the Mothman.
I love bringing up the Mothman whenever I can.
Really? This
but I think the similarities are there.
No, I totally agree. In this very short video, bringing up, is this possibly a Mothman sighting?
Oh, Marcus, when will you understand it all goes back to the Mothman?
It probably does all go back to the Mothman. We'll let you guys sort that out in the comments or whatever after the end of the video. So, okay, guys, one of the things I really wanted to talk about in this video, I want to know what makes Joplin, Missouri so special. Because if you think about it, in the last 50 to 60 years, this is a significant event with lots of people reporting very similar paranormal events in Joplin, Missouri. We've seen similar tragic events in even much larger cities. Think Hurricane Katrina, 9/11, earthquakes in California. And while there were similar reports of people seeing paranormal things there, nothing to this extent. What makes Joplin, Missouri so special?
The only thing I can think of is it was a very, very intense tragedy over a very small population. This was definitely a full-blown community in crisis.
A weird thing that struck out at me, this is Joplin, Missouri. This is the buckle of the Bible Belt, a lot of people call this. Why is it so much that it's being described as butterfly people? That's weird. Why isn't it more like angels? You would think that would be something people would say.
Yeah, particularly if this was a coping mechanism where people were trying to assign why they survived, you would really think you would have much more of a traditional angelic description.
Like if this was just being propagated by a bunch of kids, seeing a bunch of butterfly people and that was how they were trying to put this together, wouldn't you think that most adults would try to reframe that to kids? Like, no, you were rescued by an angel. You saw an angel. That's what you saw.
Another thing I thought was odd is Joplin really generally doesn't want to associate this with their town. They kind of want to sweep this part away, almost like they're embarrassed by it. But I don't think they should be. This is an amazing, unique part of their town history.
Well, we've seen this before where towns don't really want this type of attention. I mean, we talked about that when we talked about our season 2 finale with Stull, Kansas. It wasn't a good thing for the town. You saw a lot of vandalism in Stull because of hearing about that. It could be that's what the people of Joplin just don't want to see a repeat of that.
The only real reference that I really know that still exists within the town is they did name the mural attributed to the tragedy the Butterfly Effect, and it does feature butterflies as a mainstay in it. As far as my thoughts on this, I don't think that this was solidly just a coping mechanism. Although many of the people were exposed to each other, there were signs of this story circulating around before that. And I really think the people in Joplin truly experienced something. Now, what strikes me as odd is the fact that this isn't a really famous paranormal encounter. This is kind of an obscure one that most people don't know about. Why doesn't everyone know about this? Because this is an amazing piece of paranormal history.
For me, what strikes me the most odd about the whole situation that happened in Joplin is, this lack of it being framed. If it was, again, like I said, a coping mechanism, that it was not framed more of people being saved by angels, here in the Bible Belt. Secondly, the fact that this is not very wide known, kind of like what Vic said. And third, that even though this was such a large event, there were no reports of men in black coming into the city to try to quash this.
Yeah, you would really expect them to show up for an event like this.
That's a weird thing, that you would think that this would be something that people would try to come in and quash. But it is one of the largest paranormal events, probably in the last 50 to 60 years, with this many people reporting seeing, having paranormal encounters. But tell us what you think in the comments below. Hey guys, thank you so much for checking out this video. We always appreciate it when you guys come to our channel for your paranormal content. First and foremost, we want to give a big shout out in this video to David Bender for submitting us some original fan art of butterfly people, which you guys got to enjoy in both the glimpse and in this video.
Thank you so much, man. We really appreciate it. And if you guys like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. It really helps out the channel.
But don't forget, keep believing.
Because we'll keep listening.